You're sitting across from someone, pouring your heart out, and they barely glance in your direction. Or maybe you've sent a message, waited hours, days, and nothing. Silence, that sting of being ignored, it's universal, isn't it? It can feel like a punch to the gut, leaving you questioning your worth or scrambling for a way to fix it. But what if I told you there's a way to not only handle being ignored, but to come out of it stronger, calmer, and more in control of your emotions? That's where Stoicism comes in. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most famous Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." What he's pointing to is the core of Stoic wisdom, focusing on what's within your control and letting go of what isn't. When someone ignores you, their actions are outside your control. But your response, that's entirely up to you. In this video, we'll explore how Stoic principles can help you maintain inner peace and resilience in the face of being ignored. You'll learn how to shift your perspective, reclaim your emotional power, and turn what feels like rejection into an opportunity for growth. So, if you've ever felt the frustration of being overlooked, stick around. This isn't just about handling being ignored, it's about discovering how to thrive no matter how others choose to act. How much of your happiness depends on others' attention? Think about it for a moment. If someone's silence or indifference can throw your entire day off balance, you're giving them power over your emotions, power they didn't earn and don't deserve. This is where Stoicism offers a game-changing perspective. At its core, Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we can't. And here's the truth: other people's actions, including whether they ignore you, are entirely outside your control. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it simply: some things are within our power while others are not. What's within your power? Your thoughts, your reactions, your choices. What's not? Everything else, including how others treat you. When you tie your sense of worth to someone else's attention, you're handing them the keys to your emotional well-being. But Stoicism invites you to take those keys back. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're left out of a group chat. Maybe it's friends planning an event and you're not included. Your first instinct might be to spiral, wondering why they didn't invite you, questioning your place in the group, or even reaching out to demand an explanation. But here's the Stoic approach: pause, recognize that their decision to exclude you is outside your control. What is within your control is how you respond. You can choose not to let their actions define your self-worth. You can focus on your own values, your own goals, and the people who truly value your presence. Now take a moment to reflect. Can you think of a time when you felt ignored? Maybe it was a text left unanswered or a conversation where you felt invisible. How did you react? Did you let it consume you, or did you find a way to move forward? Stoicism doesn't ask you to pretend it doesn't hurt. It simply asks you to redirect your energy. Instead of fixating on what you can't change, focus on what you can: your mindset, your resilience, and your ability to rise above the noise. This shift in perspective isn't just about handling being ignored, it's about reclaiming your power. When you stop seeking validation from others and start building it within yourself, you become unshakable, and that's where true freedom begins. Stoicism teaches us to let go of what we cannot change. It's not about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional roller coaster of trying to control the uncontrollable. Think about it. When someone ignores you, their actions are theirs alone. You can't force them to respond, to care, or to include you. But what you can do is choose not to let their behavior dictate your peace of mind. This is the essence of emotional detachment, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." What he's pointing to is the way we amplify our pain by overthinking and attaching too much meaning to things outside our control. When someone ignores you, it's easy to spin stories in your head. Maybe they're mad at you, maybe they don't value you, maybe you've done something wrong. But here's the truth, those stories are just that, stories. They're not facts, and by clinging to them, you're creating unnecessary suffering for yourself. Let's take a page from Seneca's own life. When he was exiled by Emperor Claudius, he didn't wallow in self-pity or rage against the injustice. Instead, he used the time to reflect, write, and deepen his understanding of Stoic principles. He didn't let the external circumstances of his exile define his inner state. In fact, he later wrote that the experience taught him resilience and self-reliance. His ability to detach from the situation, not by denying his emotions, but by refusing to let them control him, allowed him to find peace even in the most challenging circumstances. So, how can you apply this in your own life? Start by recognizing that emotional detachment isn't about shutting down or pretending you don't care. It's about shifting your focus from what you can't control to what you can. When someone ignores you, instead of obsessing over their actions, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow stronger? What values do I want to uphold regardless of how others treat me? These questions redirect your energy inward, where your true power lies. Take a moment to reflect. Can you think of a time when you felt ignored or overlooked? How did you respond? Did you let it consume you, or did you find a way to rise above it? Stoicism invites you to see these moments not as setbacks, but as opportunities to practice emotional detachment. By letting go of the need for external validation, you create space for inner peace and resilience, and that, more than anything, is the ultimate freedom. Why do we seek approval from those who ignore us? It's a question worth sitting with, because the answer often reveals how much of our self-worth we've tied to external validation. Think about it. When someone ignores you, why does it feel so personal? Why does their silence or indifference seem to echo louder than your own sense of value? Stoicism offers a powerful antidote to this cycle: self-validation. At its heart, Stoicism teaches us to find our worth within ourselves, not in the opinions or actions of others. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, wrote in his Meditations, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." What he's pointing to is the power of perspective. When someone ignores you, you don't have to interpret it as a reflection of your worth. Instead, you can choose to see it as their choice, one that has nothing to do with you. This isn't about dismissing your feelings or pretending it doesn't sting. It's about recognizing that your value doesn't depend on someone else's attention. Stoicism invites you to build a foundation of self-worth that's unshakable, no matter how others treat you. And in today's world, where social media likes and comments can feel like a barometer of our worth, this idea is more relevant than ever. Let's take a modern example. Imagine you post a photo online and it doesn't get as many likes as you hoped. Maybe you start questioning your appearance, your creativity, or even your worth. But here's the Stoic approach. Pause, ask yourself, why am I seeking validation from strangers or even friends online? Does their approval define me? The truth is, it doesn't. Your worth isn't tied to a number on a screen. It's tied to your character, your values, and the way you show up in the world. Marcus Aurelius also wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." What he's saying is that your inner world, your thoughts, your beliefs, your self-talk, shapes your experience far more than external events. When you practice self-validation, you're choosing to focus on the qualities that make you who you are, independent of others' opinions. So, here's a challenge for you. Take a moment to list 3 qualities you value in yourself. Not qualities others have praised or noticed, qualities you know are true about you. Maybe it's your resilience, your kindness, or your ability to find humor in tough situations. Whatever they are, write them down. These are your anchors, the things that remind you of your worth, no matter how others act. By practicing self-validation, you're not just protecting yourself from the sting of being ignored, you're building a life rooted in inner strength. And that's a kind of freedom no one can take away from you. The present moment is all we truly have. It's the only space where life unfolds, where we can act, think, and feel. Yet, how often do we let the actions or inactions of others pull us out of it? When someone ignores you, it's easy to get caught in a loop of overthinking, replaying scenarios in your mind, or imagining what you could have done differently. But here's the thing, none of that changes the present. It only takes you further away from it. This is where Stoicism and mindfulness intersect. Both teach us to anchor ourselves in the here and now, to focus on what's right in front of us rather than getting lost in what we can't control. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most practical teachers, put it this way: we should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is or is not in my control? When someone ignores you, their actions are not in your control. But your ability to stay present, to focus on your own thoughts and actions, that is. Mindfulness in this sense isn't just a modern buzzword, it's a deeply Stoic practice. It's about training your mind to stay grounded in the present rather than drifting into the past or future. And when you do that, something remarkable happens. The sting of being ignored starts to lose its power. You realize that the present moment is full of things you can control: your breath, your thoughts, your surroundings, and those things become your anchor. Let's make this tangible. Here's a simple exercise you can try right now. Pause and notice 5 things in your immediate environment. Maybe it's the texture of the surface you're sitting on, the sound of birds outside, or the way the light falls across the room. By doing this, you're pulling your attention back to the present, away from the noise of overthinking or worrying about how others are treating you. This isn't about ignoring your feelings, it's about giving yourself a moment of clarity, a reminder that the present is where your power lies. Now take a moment to reflect. How often do you let someone else's actions or lack of action distract you from the present? Do you find yourself replaying conversations, analyzing texts, or imagining what someone else is thinking? If so, you're not alone, but here's the invitation. What if, instead of letting those thoughts pull you away, you chose to come back to the present? What if you used the tools of Stoicism and mindfulness to ground yourself, to find peace right here, right now? The present moment is all we truly have, and when you embrace it fully, you'll find that the opinions, actions, and indifference of others start to matter a little less. Because in the present, you're free to focus on what's within your control, free to live fully, and free to let go of what you can't change. And that, more than anything, is where true resilience begins. Stoics see challenges as opportunities for growth. It's a mindset shift that turns what feels like rejection into a chance to build something stronger within yourself. When someone ignores you, it's easy to see it as a setback, a sign that you're not enough. But what if you saw it differently? What if you saw it as an invitation to grow, to become more resilient, more grounded, and more in tune with your own values? That's the Stoic approach to adversity, not as something to avoid, but as something to embrace. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. What he's saying is profound. The very things that seem to block us, whether it's being ignored, overlooked, or dismissed, can become the tools we use to move forward. When someone ignores you, it's an opportunity to practice patience, to strengthen your sense of self, and to deepen your understanding of what truly matters. Think about it. Resilience isn't built in moments of ease. It's forged in the fire of difficulty. When you're ignored, you're forced to confront your own reactions, to question where your sense of worth comes from, and to decide how you'll respond. And in that process you grow. You become someone who doesn't crumble under the weight of others' indifference but instead stands firm, rooted in your own values. Take the story of Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism. Before he became a philosopher, he was a merchant who lost everything in a shipwreck. Stripped of his wealth and status, he wandered into a bookstore in Athens where he discovered the teachings of Socrates. That moment of loss, of being overlooked by fate, became the catalyst for his transformation. Instead of wallowing in despair, he used the adversity as an opportunity to rebuild his life, not as a merchant, but as a thinker who would go on to shape one of the most enduring philosophies in history. Now, let's bring this closer to home. Can you think of a time when being ignored or overlooked led to something positive in your life? Maybe it pushed you to pursue a passion you've been neglecting, or it helped you realize who truly values you. Perhaps it taught you to rely less on external validation and more on your own inner compass. These moments, as painful as they can feel in the moment, are often the ones that shape us the most. So here's a challenge. The next time someone ignores you, pause. Instead of reacting with frustration or self-doubt, ask yourself, how can I use this as an opportunity to grow? What can I learn about myself, about resilience, about what truly matters to me? By reframing the experience, you're not just surviving adversity, you're thriving through it. And that's the essence of Stoic resilience, turning obstacles into stepping stones, one moment at a time. What if being ignored is a gift in disguise? It's a question that might feel counterintuitive at first, especially when the sting of rejection is fresh. But here's the Stoic perspective. Being ignored can actually be an opportunity, a chance to step back, reassess, and focus on what truly matters. Instead of seeing it as a loss, what if you saw it as a moment of liberation? Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." What he's pointing to is the idea that life's challenges, including rejection, can be opportunities to reclaim your freedom. When someone ignores you, it's easy to feel tied to their opinion, to let their silence dictate your emotions. But Stoicism invites you to see it differently. Their indifference, it's not a judgment on your worth, it's a reminder that you don't need their approval to live fully. Think about it. When someone ignores you, they're giving you space. Space to focus on your own goals, your own passions, your own growth. Instead of chasing their attention, you're free to invest your energy in what truly matters to you. This is the liberating power of detachment, not as a way to shut down, but as a way to open up to new possibilities. Let's make this practical. Imagine you've been left out of a social event. Instead of dwelling on why you weren't invited, what if you used that time to dive into a passion project? Maybe it's writing, painting, or learning a new skill. That solitude, that space becomes a gift, a chance to reconnect with yourself and your own interests. Now, take a moment to reflect. How could being ignored free you from unnecessary obligations? Maybe it's a relationship that's been draining your energy, or a social circle that doesn't align with your values. When someone ignores you, it's an opportunity to step back and ask yourself, is this where I want to be? Is this who I want to be? Stoicism teaches us that rejection isn't the end, it's a beginning. It's a chance to refocus, to rediscover what truly matters, and to live life on your own terms. So the next time someone ignores you, don't see it as a loss. See it as an invitation to freedom, to self-discovery, and to a life that's truly your own. Gratitude is the antidote to feeling overlooked. When someone ignores you, it's easy to fixate on what's missing their attention, their approval, their presence. But what if, instead of focusing on what you lack, you turned your attention to what you already have? This is where the Stoic practice of gratitude comes in. It's not just about saying thank you for the good things in life. It's about shifting your perspective, finding abundance in the present moment, and cultivating a sense of contentment that no one can take away from you. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what's within our control, and gratitude is one of the most powerful tools we have for doing just that. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who lived in the 1st century, put it this way: "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." What he's pointing to is the transformative power of gratitude. When you take stock of what you already possess, whether it's your health, your relationships, or even the simple pleasures of life, you shift your focus from what's lacking to what's abundant. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're feeling ignored by a friend or colleague. Instead of dwelling on their silence, take a moment to reflect on the people in your life who do show up for you. Think about the small joys you might overlook: a warm cup of coffee in the morning, a walk in nature, or even the comfort of your own bed at the end of the day. These things might seem small, but they're reminders that life is full of gifts even when it feels like something or someone is missing. One of the most effective ways to practice gratitude is through journaling. Each day, take a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. And here's the key: make them unrelated to others' attention or approval. Maybe it's your ability to learn new things, the beauty of a sunset, or the strength you've shown in overcoming challenges. By focusing on these intrinsic sources of gratitude, you're building a foundation of contentment that doesn't depend on external validation. Now take a moment to reflect. What are 3 things you're grateful for right now? They don't have to be grand or life-changing, just things that bring you a sense of peace or joy. Write them down, say them out loud, or simply hold them in your mind. This simple act of gratitude can shift your perspective, helping you see that even when someone ignores you, your life is still full of meaning and value. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good practice, it's a Stoic tool for resilience. When you focus on what you have rather than what you lack, you reclaim your power. You remind yourself that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's attention. It's rooted in the abundance of your own life, and that's a perspective no one can ignore. Why do people ignore us, and how can we respond with compassion? It's a question that cuts to the heart of human relationships. When someone overlooks or dismisses us, it's easy to assume the worst: that they don't care, that they're intentionally hurting us, or that we've done something wrong. But what if their actions have nothing to do with us at all? What if they're simply caught up in their own struggles, their own busyness, or their own limitations? This is where Stoicism offers a profound shift in perspective. It encourages us to respond not with resentment, but with understanding and compassion. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "When people injure you, ask yourself what good or harm they thought would come of it. If you understand that, you'll feel sympathy rather than outrage or anger." What he's pointing to is the power of empathy, the ability to see the world through someone else's eyes. When someone ignores you, it's not always about you. Maybe they're overwhelmed with work, dealing with personal challenges, or simply unaware of how their actions affect you. By choosing to understand their perspective, you free yourself from the weight of resentment and open the door to compassion. Let's make this practical. Imagine you've reached out to a friend and they don't respond. Your first thought might be, "They don't care about me." But what if instead you considered other possibilities? Maybe they're juggling a demanding job and family responsibilities. Maybe they're struggling with their own mental health and don't have the energy to reply. Or maybe they simply forgot. When you shift your focus from "why are they ignoring me" to "what might they be going through," you're practicing Stoic empathy. This doesn't mean you excuse harmful behavior or let people walk all over you. It simply means you approach the situation with a sense of understanding rather than judgment. And here's the beautiful thing: when you respond with compassion, you're not just helping them, you're helping yourself. Resentment and anger are heavy emotions to carry. Compassion, on the other hand, lightens the load. It allows you to move forward with clarity and peace rather than being weighed down by negativity. Now take a moment to reflect. Can you think of a time when someone ignored you? What was your initial reaction? Did you assume the worst, or did you consider what might have been going on in their life? Stoicism invites you to pause and ask, what might they be dealing with that I can't see? By doing so, you're not just practicing empathy, you're embodying one of Stoicism's core virtues, wisdom. Compassion isn't about letting others off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the grip of resentment. It's about recognizing that everyone is fighting their own battles, and sometimes those battles make it hard for them to show up the way we'd like. When you respond with understanding, you're not just practicing Stoicism, you're creating a ripple effect of kindness, one that starts with you and extends far beyond. So the next time someone ignores you, try this: pause, consider their perspective, and choose compassion. It might just change the way you see the world and yourself. Your mind is your strongest defense. Think about that for a moment. In a world where so much feels out of your control, other people's actions, their opinions, even their silence, your mind is the one thing no one can take from you. This is the heart of the Stoic concept of the inner citadel, a mental fortress that shields you from the chaos of external events. It's not about building walls to shut the world out. It's about creating a space within yourself where you can find peace, clarity, and strength, no matter what's happening around you. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote extensively about this idea. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." What he's pointing to is the importance of guarding your thoughts, of creating a sanctuary within yourself where you can retreat when the world feels overwhelming. When someone ignores you, their actions are outside your control. But your inner citadel, that's yours to build, to strengthen, and to protect. So how do you build this mental fortress? Start by recognizing that your thoughts are your own. No one can force you to think a certain way or feel a certain emotion. When someone ignores you, it's easy to let their silence dictate your inner world, to feel hurt, rejected, or even angry. But the Stoic approach is different. It's about choosing how you respond. It's about saying, this is their action, not my reality. Here's a practical exercise to help you visualize this. Close your eyes and imagine a fortress surrounding your mind. Picture it as strong and unshakable, with walls that no external event can penetrate. Inside this fortress, you're safe, you're calm, you're in control. Now imagine someone ignoring you. Their actions are like arrows flying toward your fortress, but they can't get in. They bounce off the walls, leaving you untouched. This is the power of your inner citadel. It's a space where you can retreat, regroup, and respond with clarity rather than react with emotion. Now take a moment to reflect. What's one mental habit you can strengthen to protect your peace? Maybe it's practicing mindfulness so you're less likely to get caught up in overthinking. Maybe it's reminding yourself daily of your values so you're less swayed by others' opinions. Or maybe it's simply pausing before you react, giving yourself a moment to choose how you'll respond. Whatever it is, start small. Every time you strengthen that habit, you're adding another brick to your inner citadel. The beauty of this concept is that it's not just about handling being ignored. It's about building a life of resilience and inner strength. When you have a strong inner citadel, you're not just surviving the storms of life, you're thriving in them. So the next time someone ignores you, remember, your mind is your strongest defense, and within it you'll always find peace. What matters more, being liked or being virtuous? It's a question that cuts to the core of how we live our lives. In a world where social media likes and public approval often feel like the ultimate measure of success, Stoicism offers a radically different perspective. It asks us to shift our focus from seeking validation to living with integrity, to prioritize virtue over popularity. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most practical teachers, put it this way: first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. What he's pointing to is the importance of aligning your actions with your values, regardless of how others perceive you. For the Stoics, virtue wasn't just a lofty ideal, it was the foundation of a meaningful life. It meant living with honesty, courage, wisdom, and justice, even when it wasn't easy or convenient. Let's make this tangible. Imagine you're at work and a colleague suggests cutting corners on a project to meet a tight deadline. It's tempting to go along with it, especially if it means avoiding conflict or gaining approval. But here's the Stoic approach: pause. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be? Someone who compromises their integrity for the sake of convenience, or someone who stands by their principles even when it's hard? Choosing honesty over popularity might not win you immediate praise, but it will strengthen your character, and that's something no one can take away from you. Now take a moment to reflect. Can you think of a time when you prioritized virtue over others' opinions? Maybe it was standing up for what you believed in, even when it wasn't popular. Or perhaps it was choosing to do the right thing, even when no one was watching. These moments, though they might not come with applause, are where true growth happens. They're where you build a life rooted in integrity, rather than one swayed by the fleeting approval of others. Stoicism teaches us that external validation is like a shadow. It follows us when we're in the light, but it disappears the moment we step into the dark. Virtue, on the other hand, is a constant. It's the light we carry within ourselves, guiding us even when no one else is watching. So, the next time you're faced with a choice between being liked and being virtuous, remember, your character is your legacy. And that's something worth prioritizing every single time. So, what have we learned today? When someone ignores you, it's not the end of the world, it's an opportunity. An opportunity to focus on what's within your control, to practice gratitude for what you already have, and to build resilience that no one can shake. Stoicism teaches us that the power to respond, to grow, and to thrive lies within us, not in the actions or opinions of others. We've explored how to shift your perspective, to see being ignored not as a rejection but as a chance to reclaim your emotional power. We've talked about the importance of self-validation, of finding your worth within yourself rather than seeking it from others. And we've seen how gratitude and compassion can transform moments of feeling overlooked into opportunities for deeper connection with yourself and with the world around you. Remember, the Stoics didn't just preach these ideas, they lived them. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he found strength in the quiet moments of reflection. Epictetus, born into slavery, taught that true freedom comes from mastering your mind. And Seneca, who faced exile and betrayal, wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." So, the next time someone ignores you, don't see it as a setback. See it as a chance to practice these principles, to focus on what you can control, to find gratitude in the present, and to build the kind of resilience that turns obstacles into stepping stones. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever used Stoic principles to handle being ignored? What did you learn from the experience? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more Stoic guidance. Together, let's keep building lives of strength, clarity, and purpose. Thanks for watching, and remember, no matter how others act, your power lies within.